If you were to ask a random person on the street whether the United States is currently at war, what do you think they'd say? Maybe? Not technically? Kind of? The U.S. military is in a kind of limbo right now. That's actually been pretty typical over the last several decades. We haven't declared a formal war against anyone, but military activity is happening. Service members are training all the time, and just a few weekends ago, some of them did drop bombs on another country, Iran. This quote-unquote peacetime activity has me thinking about a few things. First of all, peacetime in the U.S. is actually pretty active. And I've also been thinking about what it's like to serve in the military during these in-between times. What are people looking for when they enlist? What do they hope to achieve? How do they look back on their combat experiences when they don't have a war to ground it in? This week, I talked to someone who can shed light on those questions. Dr. Ray Christian served in the Army for 20 years. He's about to turn 65 this month, and he joined the Army right out of high school in 1978, a few years after the end of the Vietnam War, and he retired in 1998 before 9/11 ushered in a new era of military activity. Ray was an infantryman, a paratrooper, and even a drill sergeant at one point. He has lots of badges and medals, and like a lot of his fellow service members, he's also been diagnosed with PTSD. Ray talked to me about his military service from Boone, North Carolina, the college town of about 20,000 people that's home to Appalachian State University. Ray lives there with his wife, surrounded by goats, chickens, and a revolving cast of other farm animals. And he told me what his service was like, how it involved secretive combat missions and dangerous training drills. And when it was over, how hard it was for him to find his place outside the military. Ray tried law school and failed out, and then discovered a passion for history and storytelling, and eventually got multiple graduate degrees. Today, he's both an academic and a frequent storyteller on big-name podcasts and radio shows like The Moth, Snap Judgment, and Risk. And Ray has his own podcast called What's Ray Saying that I really like listening to. But before Ray Christian was a public radio storyteller, he was a kid growing up in a segregated Black neighborhood in Richmond, Virginia, trying to figure out how to get his life started. Like a lot of poor teenagers, the most accessible on-ramp for Ray was at his local military recruiter's office, a threshold that every service member in post-draft America has crossed when they decide to join up.
People have their reasons. Strange, odd, makes sense, some shallow. But the rarest reason I ever hear is because I'm a patriot. Because I love my country.
This is Death, Sex, and Money, the show from Slate about the things we think about a lot and need to talk about more. I'm Anna Sale.
This episode is brought to you by Marshalls, where you never have to compromise between quality and price. The buyers at Marshalls hustle hard, working to bring you great deals on brand name and designer pieces. Because Marshalls believes everyone deserves access to the good stuff. Visit a Marshalls store near you or shop online at marshalls.com.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the ultimate first day energy back to school. It all starts with on-trend outfits for that front door photo shoot. Plus, the coolest tees, shorts, and jeans to take them through the rest of the year. Get them ready for their close-up and keep them comfy too. Make this grade their best one yet. Shop all things back to school, in-store, online, and in the app.
To understand why Ray Christian joined the Army, we need to go back to Richmond, Virginia, where he grew up in the 1960s and 70s. He was the only boy in his family. His two sisters were much older, and he lived with his mom and stepdad. Money was tight, and career prospects were few.
I had no connections. I had no networks. My parents had no influence, no money, and they didn't know anybody. Their perspective on the world was very limited. Of course, it'd make a better story if I were to say that even though my family or my folks were uneducated and they didn't go to school, that they knew how important education is. And that's a wonderful story. But that's not how my parents were. Their general idea was the harder you work, the more money you make.
What'd your parents do for money?
And my mother, she cleaned people's houses. We call that day's work. Huh. To say maid would elevate it like to another status.
So she didn't have the status of being in one home and taking care of it. She was moving around to different homes.
You got it exactly. She did that in several homes. So that's what she did for a living. And my stepdad, same thing. We called that day labor, day work. He would do construction work, which meant he dug ditches, hauled wood, mixed cement, one place, another job site from here to there, whenever, lose one, go to another, so pick up work, whatever.
And did you feel, as the only son, was there a sort of a earning pressure on you at all in the family as you were coming of age?
It did. So I had several little boy jobs. One of my major ones was pulling wagons. I had a red wagon. I would go down to the grocery store, me and several boys, and we would be down there walking up to you, say, you need somebody to help you with your groceries? I would either help you carry them to your car or I would follow you home and with my wagon and I'd take your groceries. And so that was a job. And usually you might make 50 cents. 55. It's the dollar was the ultimate thing to try to get $1, $1.10, $1.50. You had a great day. But damn it, my mama. I said I made $1.50 today, mama. She said, like, well, how much you gonna give your mama? Well, Mom, half. Okay. And she took it for real. She collected it up. I put it in the candy jar. Maybe, she not going to, she grabbed it right up and put it in her purse.
Growing up in Richmond, Ray knew a lot of people who'd served in the military. Older guys who fought in World War II, and some just a few years ahead of him who'd been to Vietnam. One was his cousin, who'd worked at the local movie theater, was drafted and sent to Southeast Asia, and died there. But Ray still saw the military as the best option available to him.
I had always been the kind of kid who talked too much. And I grew up in a world where people had tons of stories that were compelling enough to shut you down. Mm-hmm. So every old person I knew grew up in Jim Crow. My mother was the grandchild of a slave. My grandmother is the child of a slave. Every old person had shit to say. As a kid, we had nothing. So you heard that all the time. You got no stories. So the military was something that I wanted. I wanted to do the stuff I was reading about in books. Uh-huh. The exotic. The Green Berets, Iwo Jima, and the movie, and all that kind of stuff.
And did you go to a recruiter's office, or were they in your school? Do you remember the conversations you had?
Oh, yeah.
Where they happened?
In fact, I went to them, because that's what a lot of us do in the neighborhood. And this is because, look, we live in a dangerous world anyway, where we grow up. We do that kind of work. We grow up to work in caves with explosives, shit that fall on you and bust your head open. You breathe in toxic and dangerous gases. You get hit by a car and shot by a bullet just walking around the corner in our neighborhood. So for us, the people in my class, that's not like, it's fucking dangerous.
Life is dangerous. Yeah.
We do that. We do that. So it's not like extreme leap, because there's no sense of politics, morality, philosophy of life, religion, and things of that. That's not what you're thinking about then. Mm-hmm. I aged into that. So I did. I went to the recruiter and I told him I wanted the hardest job they got.
You did?
Because Yeah, because I thought I could make more money like that. See, that was the blue collar mentality, the Protestant work ethic. The harder you work, the more money you make. Simple. No more complex than that. And with that mentality, well, hell yeah, I'm your boy. Give me the hardest job you got. I want to do the exciting stuff. And so they did. And I became a paratrooper in the infantry. And I've never been on a plane in my entire life. So the first 10 times I was on a plane, I jumped out of that plane.
Whoa, first 10 times. So you had not been on a plane and gotten to sit in a seat the whole time?
Never.
So you sign up.
Yeah.
You say, I want the hardest job. What do you remember the predominant feeling being as you kind of looked around at who were going to be your new peers, maybe your friends? Like, was it fun? Was it?
I felt like I was the one that was out of place. I'm looking at faces, especially before, we haven't gotten haircuts or anything. So everybody's looking their way. So you don't know, you're going like, certainly not this guy. That guy has got a gut over there. This guy's got all this acne, it's they just folks. Nobody looks like a soldier. And then you see each other again in a few weeks and we look different. But then the nuances start kicking in because people look different than I'm used to. There are people who are black. There are people who are white. There are people, I don't know what they are. And definitely don't know what they are. But wait a minute, those people look alike, but they're different things. How come he speaks that language? Where you come from? You grew up on a farm, on an island in the Pacific? Then it's the talking contest. People from certain places dominate. And I'm going to give number one to New York. People from New York. Damn,
they win the talking contest.
Always. And they destroy Southerners. The only people who can compete with them is maybe Chicago, LA people. Because everything we do in the South is stupid or it happened 2 years ago. To them. What? In New York, we been had those like 2 years ago. What are you talking about? Damn,
And Southerners take a breath, and then they lose the floor, I guess. If they talk slower.
But occasionally you get the different brands of Southerners who go toe to toe in their weird way. That's the stuff I started experiencing. It did make me feel like my life was nothing prior, because everybody seemed like they had an exciting, adventurous life, and mine seemed so simple and unexciting that I thought, I could change that by making up shit. If you don't know, you don't know, and other people who do know laugh at your ass. And so I was bit the fool, thinking I could impress people by making up shit because I couldn't bear the idea of explaining to them, really, I didn't do anything but live with my mama and I ain't never had a car, never been with a woman. I ain't left the country. I ain't won nothing. Nobody in my family is anybody. So I lie. I had 100 girlfriends. I was number one in the school. I got gazillion points on this college test. I got recruited to 100 football colleges, but I told them no. People go, oh yeah? What school? What school exactly? Harvard, Yale, Alabama, all at the same time. What? Yeah. When I was 14 years old, they told me drop out of high school. So that was my attempt to try to integrate into this world that was different than the world I came from.
Lying. Tall tales.
Lying my ass off. Yes, telling stories.
And when do you think you had, how long did it take for you to make your first friend who you didn't lie to, who knew you?
A few weeks. But I didn't give up the big secrets for about another year and a half.
Who was your friend?
Oh, boy, do I want to tell this story? All right. Shit. Right. So this is a guy who introduced me to acid.
Oh.
remember the guys were standing around one afternoon, and they were talking about acid, LSD, and everybody was just talking about it. And they say, "Hey, Christian, what about Christian?" And somebody said, "He don't know shit. His ass is from the country, and he wouldn't know what to do with that anyway." And everybody's laughing. And the guy says, "Here, Christian, take one of these on the house." And it was like this little piece of paper, and it had a little red star on it. Now, I'd never seen this before, so I immediately think, aha, y'all trying to trick old Christian and get me to put this stupid thing in my mouth. And I'm looking at him going like, yeah, right, And I put it in my mouth, and I'm like, and they're looking at me and going like, dude, you should have waited till later, man. We still got a platoon meeting and what are going on, and everybody's laughing, but nothing's happening. It's a joke. They're clowning me yet again. We start the meeting, and as the meeting starts, I'm looking at the platoon sergeant. He's starting to say, sounds like when he's speaking that he's yawning, like he's going like, guys, wow.
Uh-oh.
And so I lean forward, and I'm looking, and I notice when I look around that the guys, they're all looking at me and like hitting each other with the elbows and whispering in their ears, going like, look,
Yeah.
he's tripping. So I set up, and I'm looking around, and it's, when the meeting ends, all the guys are just, it says somebody's got to stay with him. Mm-hmm. So I end up staying with the guy. He's like my spirit guide, And when we started to talk and go through this whole acid phenomenon where I'm looking in the mirror and I can see myself.
Yeah.
But in the ways I don't like. Like, I see what other people see when they look at me, when they talk to me, and it's like, damn, that's who I am. A lying ass, childish, immature, exaggerated fool.
Oh.
And he looked at me and said, what else do you want to say? And I said, everything I said was a lie. My family is poor. We don't have shit. I ain't nobody. I'm having a hard time. I don't even have no friends. That was the first time. And it changed me. I was different after that. Minuscule, but it took me into another space.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the first friend I had that I ever said, let me be honest.
As Ray got more comfortable being himself, he started bonding more with his Army buddies, and they started opening up to him.
Sometimes we work all night. Sometimes we're out in the rain, the snow, in the damn desert. Sometimes it's dangerous. Sometimes it's not dangerous. Sometimes and regularly people get killed just training. I don't know what other jobs people have that just practicing for your job gets you killed. And so you bond and you have moments to laugh and reflect and have conversations with people under strange circumstances. The amount of precious and poignant conversations and stories I've heard alone at night in a fighting position, out in patrol in a demilitarized zone in Korea, in the deserts, the Sinai, walking. Some guy starts talking, yeah, my stepfather used to beat the hell out of me. Personal stories. I think my wife is cheating on me. And the most dangerous story might have been, I'm gay. Mm-hmm. And all just those things can be precious, if you appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Some people, maybe they don't want to know you. But I got to learn about a lot of stuff just in those kind of casual, one-off conversations.
Yeah, that's what you're making me think. It's like the one-offness of it, that you would be thrown into these situations where you and some other guys, you're like almost in another dimension. You're like on a road trip. You bear yourselves to one another, but then there's not necessarily a relationship or follow-up that continues after that.
Right. that story just kind of sinks in. It's like just part of the fabric of the people that you meet, that I would not have met in my world, where people have it a hell of a lot worse, or people who come in for reasons that you can't figure. You're talking to a guy that's, and you find out that his father owns, a chain of restaurants or something. He's making millions of dollars. You drop out of Ivy League school to join the Army and to be in the fucking infantry. What's wrong with you? And I've met many people like that who have stories that perplex you when they have reasons that you didn't consider. Met a guy who never saw TV, never heard a radio, was homeschooled. His parents were hippies, only ran around with animals, peace and love, take care of the world, no violence ever. And, he's a paratrooper in the infantry, and he told me it broke his mama's heart when he joined the Army. And he came from that background. You're going like, dude, you living in paradise, man. But people have their reasons.
What do you think your reason was at 18? How do you say it? Why'd you join? Why'd you make this?
My reason?
Yeah.
Our classic reason is to get ahead, just as a start, to start my life, to be taken seriously in the broader, white-dominated world. I'm a black guy who punched that ticket. I did that thing. Yeah, I was a Boy Scout. I was in the Army. You could take me seriously. I'm not a criminal. See what I did? Just like my forefathers. That's my ticket. Benefits, right? Stuff you're going to give me. Not knowing that a lot of people thought that's bullshit. My mind, that's the way our mind worked. That's what the thought process was. That's in the beginning.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it. So your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states and situations.
The 7-seat Volvo EX90 is a car made for finding tranquility in midtown traffic, with a serene Scandinavian interior. Made to help avoid potential hazards along city streets, thanks to advanced safety features. And with intuitive technology and Google built in, it's the car made for finding the best bagel in Brooklyn. The fully electric Volvo EX90 is perfect for New York. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more. Google is a trademark of Google LLC.
This is Death, Sex, and Money from Slate. I'm Anna Sale. Even though the Vietnam War was over when Ray Christian joined the Army, the memory of that conflict and the horrors that were part of it were still on people's minds. And Ray says they shaped the kind of authority figure he wanted to be as he moved through the ranks.
I was moving up as a non-commissioned officer, but I was always soldier-oriented and not so much the system. And I would take care of my guys, stand up for them, people will go, oh, let's get his ass. We're going to punish him. Nah, we ain't punishing shit. I'll take full responsibility. I speak up for people. And people will say, what the fuck are you doing, Christian, man? You're not standing up for the chain of command. What the hell are you doing defending this guy? Hey, man, I defend the people who have my back in combat. The only thing people fear in combat is death. Their whole world is that little small group of people. They don't risk their life for no fucking flag, the general, none of that shit. They will do it for you, your boys, your friend, them. That's the only reason I'm going to crawl my ass out here and throw a hand grenade in this position is because you guys, I want you to be safe. Mm-hmm. So, with that in mind, you have to constantly kind of show them when there is no combat, I care about you. What's wrong with you? Oh, I'm having a marital problems. My dog died. I don't have money. Family, funerals and shit. I'm there for you, man. I'm talking to you now. You can't be just booting people in the ass out. You can boot them in the ass, but only if you're doing it to save lives. No one would tolerate that unless it's that reason. You'll take a foot in your ass to make you jump from a grenade, and you'll thank me. Yeah. So I'm in that mode of thinking, and that's kind of counterproductive. But until I move enough up in the ranks where I'm bulletproof, and then people really, now I'm like just some ornery ass sergeant first class. Not really. It's just some shit I won't listen to now because no one can touch me. I was. That doesn't paint my career very, very nicely. But
I appreciate. Here's how I would summarize what you're telling me. You're telling me that when you were going through your career, knowing how to manage up, as they say, that was not one of your gifts. You had other priorities, because there's plenty of people who it might not get the best outcomes out of the people working for them, but it makes them look good to their bosses.
They get focused on their evaluations and how they appear. They kiss up and kick down. If they crushed every damn person who worked under them, they don't give a shit if it makes them look good.
Yeah.
I'm concerned, as people did back in the Vietnam era, that those people you doing that shit, they have weapons. You got to think, remember, there's shit people won't tolerate in combat. There's things you can't do.
Yeah.
You get a bullet in the back of your head, and we were well familiar with fratricide from Vietnam because it was talked about a lot. And a lot of our older NCOs brought it up a lot.
Oh, really?
Guys fragging people in Vietnam.
Huh.
Guys throwing hand grenades in the lieutenant or the sergeant's position, blowing his ass up.
Huh. Like that was a real conversation.
It's something we talked about, because we had people in the unit who had experienced it in Vietnam.
So I want to make sure I have the timeline down. So how many years in were you when you had the option of whether you wanted to re-enlist or not?
4 years.
So 4 years in, and you could have been finished.
Yeah.
Why weren't you finished?
Well, what's the number one reason I would give? I was broke, right? Which is, shallow as that might seem, I think if I'd had some serious cash money and prepared better to get out, I would have got out. And that's a common other thing that the Army career counselors, when you're on active duty, they look for is, what are your preparations to get out? You're trying to get out.
Uh-huh.
So, but, they sweeten it up. Said, Ray, if you stay in another 3 years, how about us give you a couple $1,000 bonus? How about you get to pick the place you want to get assigned? And how about we put you on 30-day leave so you can relax yourself, man, and get your head straight?
Uh-huh.
I'm your boy.
Uh-huh.
I'm in. And me, like thousands of others, you get to that point, and right up to that, you're always saying, ain't no fucking way. I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm not. Then you see that you don't see the guy. He don't talk to you. Hey, Frank. Frank's like walking with his head. Frank, hey, did you just walk for the career counselor's office? I thought you said you'd never stay in this shit.
Uh-huh.
All the time.
Ray ended up spending a full 20 years in the U.S. Army and was part of several combat operations. He served in Egypt, patrolling the Sinai Peninsula to help enforce a peace agreement between Israel and Egypt. He served in the Middle East during the conflict we now call the Gulf War. And Ray served in Korea, patrolling the DMZ, the demilitarized zone between North and South, decades after a ceasefire agreement was reached.
We were still doing combat patrols along the demilitarized zone, about a 2 to 4 mile long sector. And we would take our combat patrols inside the demilitarized zone, set up ambushes, trying to stop North Korean infiltration. And they're doing the same thing on the other side. And all of that, weird as that whole damn experience was, it's like nobody's hearing about it on the news.
Yeah.
People are confusing Korea with Vietnam, or they don't give a shit, or they didn't hear about it. At the time, the only thing people knew about Korea then was MASH. And MASH was on television while I was there.
Uh-huh.
And that's like, if you didn't see this show, you would know that we were still over here doing shit.
Yeah. And when you say patrol, you're like going out on foot.
So I'll describe a combat patrol. So it's usually 9 to 12 people. Okay. We go out in a truck that's blacked out. We get out, we move to a site, and we set up an ambush. Usually what we would do, we'd set up a claymore mine out in front of us, choose a couple of designated marksmen, because we'd rather 1 or 2 people shoot somebody than have all of us do a bunch of mass firing, or anything like that. So we set up, and then we wait. And then the whole night, goddamn thinking you're hearing shit, things snapping. That's the fog of war part right there. It's when you start seeing shit that's not there, or you're not seeing things that are there. As trees start walking back and forth in front of your position, and you see 20 North Korean soldiers with damn World War II bazookas, and ain't shit there. And you dealing with that all night long. Somebody will go, "Sarge, I see movement. I see movement." You look. No, fuck no. He wouldn't be standing 50 feet from us, the river dancing and shit for fucking. It's probably
that's a branch.
Yeah. But those things happen as you get more and more sleep deprived.
Yeah.
And it's freezing cold, and we're seeing our breath, and hour after hour after hour after hour.
Coming up, Ray tries to pivot back to civilian life, and he hits some roadblocks.
I was so socially isolated in law school, just so by age, by culture, by experience. I couldn't make friends. I was just an oddball, and I talked weird.
When kids don't play, they grow up without creativity. They'll try to blend in and wear chinos, or worse, polyester chinos. Good thing Gushers, Fruit by the Foot, and Fruit Roll-Ups are made to be played with. You better be playing.
This summer, try the new Strato Frappuccino blended beverage at Starbucks. It's the classic blended iced coffee you know and love, now topped with a creamy layer of handcrafted brown sugar cold foam. Available for a limited time. Your Strato Frappuccino is ready at Starbucks.
As Ray Christian worked his way up in the military and was looking for a way out, he started to notice cultural and operational shifts. Increasingly, a premium was being placed on something that hadn't mattered quite as much during the Vietnam era: education.
Things got harder as time went on, as I could see, where college became more and more and more important than it ever did in my early days when Sergeant Major would tell you, "Fuck college, we're trying to create killers, not scholars." And then when I was getting out, he said, "Nah, we need people smart enough to operate the damn technical equipment that we got and read the fucking training manuals. We don't need dumbass people no more. We don't have a place for them. The military needs people like every other corporation needs people who can write, type, think, use computer programming, and that becomes a recruiting problem. It's not that people don't want to join. Qualified people, getting them to join. And people don't understand that school is the big thing, because the Army learned through the GED process that they were letting in people with GEDs, but on a high amount of them, on a high level of these people would get kicked out for character flaws, performance issues. And so a little further educational analysis turns out to be that it's an issue of character. School, graduating from high school, is not about being smart ass. It's about character, because the military is school on steroids all the damn time, nonstop school. If you can't do school, you damn sure can't do the military. It just doesn't work anymore. Those days are gone. When I, by the time I got out, I could feel the difference in the type of people that were being recruited. So they're smarter, a little more sophisticated about the bonuses, and they use the Army better, is what I would say. They were able to play the Army a lot better than we were for their benefits, for things that were owed to them. And hell, some of that stuff I wasn't aware of, but the guys coming in later, they were very aware of those things, their rights, contractual obligations, things like that.
How old were you when you came up upon the time where you thought, maybe it's time to get out of the Army? Were you yet 40?
No, I was probably thinking that. Yeah, I know how old I was. Probably 29.
29. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's about just a little over 10 years in, and then you served another 10 years.
Yeah, somewhere in there, I was like, I can't do this, man. I was trying to find alternatives to getting out or improve my position in the military, and it just wasn't happening. And then PTSD, the greatest trigger in the world, is being in the damn Army when you have PTSD, which I served with a lot of guys who were traumatized, doing the same shit every day that got them traumatized.
Yeah.
And that's its own kind of hell. So I was dealing with that and getting ornery about things.
Yeah.
For the last few years that I was in, I was always trying, just waiting for that day. I tried to do my job all the way through, not try to ride no deaths or nothing out the door. But I was struggling. There's so many things I didn't like. I didn't like the way my mind was. I wanted to do more with my life. I wanted to be something else. I wanted to go to school. God damn, it was such emphasis placed on education, and people with paper had all the power in the military. You can be as smart as the hell you want to and have all the damn stripes. If you don't have a college degree, you don't have shit. Why in the hell can I get educated and I'm in a career field that don't allow us to go to school? But see, then I found out about there's a way. There's always those guys who find a way. And I found a way. It ain't going to come nicely. I still had to go to school at night, on the weekends. Shit, I drop classes, start classes, get into classes, and I'm suffering from a damn concussion, PTSD, blood dripping out my nose on the damn paper. But I did it. But college was hard. Shit, I wish I had started earlier. So it took me probably 6 years, 2 years after I actually retired from the Army, and I finally earned my bachelor's degree.
But you started taking college classes while you're still in the Army. That's your job, your full-time job.
Yeah.
What you're describing to me is that there were a lot of years where you knew this was not it, but you didn't know how to get to that how to turn the page.
Had no idea.
And that feeling of stuckness, like that feeling of like, I know enough to know I'm not in the right place doing the right thing. I do not know how to change it.
Right. I want to do these things. I want to be respected like everybody else too. So I had a bigger goal, which was I wanted to be a lawyer. And that's the shit I told myself, that I was gonna jump big out of the Army and become a lawyer, just like that.
When did you get the diagnosis of PTSD? How did you start to think of yourself as someone with PTSD?
Symptoms I was having, and sweats, nightmares, agitation, saying and doing crazy shit at work, And I kind of got into a situation where I was forced to go see a psychiatrist, Army psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Saw him twice. Didn't take him no time to diagnose me with severe PTSD with psychotic features. And pretty much after that, all my real official duties came to an end. I really didn't do shit else because, I mean, hell, just being on base, coming to work every day in uniform. I don't know if they thought I was going to go to the rifle range and start shooting up everybody or something. But they was like, we're gonna have you do something else for a little while. And then it turned to, no, you're just going to go home. Don't even come in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even come in. Go see your psychiatrist, take your medication, and don't come here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty much, and I did that until they said, you're retired.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I went out the door, not glamorous, not mean. I had all the stuff, but it was so unceremonious in that I grew up in this place.
Yeah.
Like Star Trek, this is the Borg, they cut me off from the hive mind. All your friends are in the military. You're always reading about the military. You seeing it on the papers. And then you're out and those people don't give you information anymore. You're not getting any data, no updates, nobody to bitch and complain to, no common miseries or pains. And you think you're going to jump into the civilian world and people are going to say, oh, you were a soldier. How wonderful. Fuck no. That was not my experience when I got out. It almost didn't matter what I did. It was of no consequence. Like if I wanted to get a job working at the factory, a lot of guys retire from the military and worked at the factory. When I was taking night classes, I remember looking outside my classroom door and seeing my former sergeant major sweeping the goddamn floor out in the hallway as he was now a janitor, doing night work in the building. And I was thinking, I respect the work. Good, honest work is work. But I didn't want, that man was everything in the Army as an enlisted man. I just, for me, I didn't want that. And people were telling me, you're a fool, man. Just, nah, I'll go to college. I want to do this lawyer thing, which everybody laughed at. That was the biggest fucking joke in the world, that I was going to become a lawyer. And but that took me on another trail for education. Even though I failed as a law student, I did eventually get into law school. I failed, but that failure resulted in me earning graduate degrees in public history and education. So now I got 3 graduate degrees. One of them's a doctorate. But if I hadn't got my ass kicked out of law school, that whole ridiculous idea of going to college and all of that started with that, because I was way over my head. I had no idea what the hell I was talking about. I had nobody like mentoring me. But despite that, I before they kicked my ass out, I did win the school's closing argument competition, the biggest event of the law school year. I won the fucking thing, and then they put my ass out. And I got that trophy still on my back wall.
You won their talking contest, and you're not from New York.
The irony of it. Yeah, I won.
Oh, so what I hear you saying is like, when you started your career in the military, it was like, I'm ready to start my life, and I'm going to get onto this thing that has this engine of something happening. And then enough things happened to you that then you had PTSD.
Yeah.
And would you describe it, did it feel like in your era that the military knew how to identify PTSD, but did not know how to help you manage it, take care of it?
I'd say my last maybe 6-7 years, there was more talk about it, some changes in names, from battle fatigue, combat fatigue. Then we went to PTSD and started talking about it a little more. But there were still a lot of commanders who were cynical about that shit, because, we can't have people that are afraid. And if I had to describe PTSD to you, I don't know, you think of the worst shit that ever happened to you. Maybe somebody you loved that died, and you remember what you felt like when you heard the news. Now do that shit 20 times a day.
Yeah.
You will drink, you will smoke, you will fucking fight. No one wants to feel that. I mean, everybody can be hurt, but nobody can be hurt every day, all damn day. And you want to think about other things. And I'm a man, I served in combat, and I damn cry at night when I sleep like a damn baby. And see, alcohol does work, but it has severe consequences. Mm-hmm. And our previous generation of ancestors knew that. And they drank, and they drank, and they drank with bad consequences. All our heroes from World War II came back drinking them goddamn martinis at work, even the wives.
Yeah. When you left, when your military career was over, did you want to be around other veterans, around people who served, who understood?
I was to some extent, but there are even limits on that. You know, the people that I knew. Most of the guys, if I knew any guys with PTSD who were, say, from World War II, Korea, Vietnam era, there are things we would say, but we wouldn't trigger each other. I never really had those kind of conversations unless I'm in some type of setting where we're having a group, a therapy session, something like that. We don't approach each other and start talking about your fucking nightmares, man.
Yeah.
People who talk like that, you start getting suspect, because I know that shit hurts.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling that pain, you wouldn't be playing around with the knife like that. And so when we're talking to each other, I am sensitive to the other guy's sense of that. So we can play with that. We don't have to get real direct. I know what you mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So there's some comfort in that way.
Yeah.
And sometimes comfort for people who never served in the military, but they've been traumatized.
Uh-huh.
No, in terms of the unbelievable has happened, and I can't do nothing about it. I can't even forget it. I feel the same way I did when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and imagine that all day. All day your car is almost hitting the wall. You know, that's PTSD. You know, that's how it manifests itself for me. You know.
And something you became an expert in is stories.
Yes.
And I find that, like, you know, when we're eliciting stories from one another and when we're telling our own stories, and especially when we're getting to the stories that get at some really, like, central stuff, it's combustible. It's dangerous. It's you have to do it with care.
Right.
And I don't know, like, how do you think you got pulled that way after you sort of describe your military career as this time of, like, kind of looking around and going, look at this place. How did I get here? I did this, and then look what I'm doing now, and kind of this appreciation of the absurdity of it, and you also know the stakes. And so I don't know, like, how did you get to stories?
Because in the Army, we had storytelling competitions. You'd tell a story and people from another unit will come by and say, oh, no, go get Frank, get Johnson. He's got another one. And plus people would insult you while you told your stories. You know, like, that's a damn lie. That's bullshit. You heard that? And so it helped you build your storytelling muscle. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like an audience, like, coming up and slapping your ass while you're trying to tell your story. You know, you learn to dodge, bob, and weave, you know. And that built me, you know, up until the point that I got out of the Army. And I wanted to do something with telling stories, but I didn't know how. And I started hearing a lot of public radio, people telling stories. And I would say, I could do that. No, I couldn't do that. I started just writing stories and sending them to shows and universally fucking rejected. You know. So clearly, there was this little thing, you know, about the instructions and shit you're supposed to do. Read what we fucking say. Don't send us this, send us that. Keep it this short. And we're only looking for stories like this. Nuh-uh. I ain't paying no attention to that shit. I got a good story. Y'all gonna listen to it. Didn't work. Wrong strategy. Uh-huh. So 36 stories deep. Nobody. You named the show, I submitted it to it. Twice, probably. Nothing. I think a common phrase I heard was, your story has no narrative arc and no character development. Thank you. So I thought I'd switch it up a little bit, maybe I would read the instructions. And then I decided also I was going to pitch one last story, my swan song, just a throwaway, a radical story, a personal story that I submitted to the Risk podcast. It's a story I've never told since. I won't ever tell that story again. And not only did they accept the story, but they told me they were coming to North Carolina, that I want to do their live show. So I did the live show. And the next thing that follows, that some of the very shows that I had been pitching, not sure how they heard this story, they came to me.
Do you get a military pension?
I do.
What's it feel like when that hits your bank account?
Blood money. That's what I tell the damn kids, It's my goddamn blood money. My kids, I wouldn't say they're anti-military, but my kids aren't like really fired up about military stuff. Mm-hmm. But since it paid for all their goddamn college education, I goes, my blood, sweat, and tears for real is in that goddamn diploma. I want it. That shit is mine. But we joke about it, and the same thing with that is like, I don't know. What if I'd have went to college and became an engineer or something, with the pension? And the pension, you don't think about the pension when you're having night sweats, or my goddamn knees, or the 6 back spinal surgery I had, which last one was a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. That's the price. You can't make money in the military. That's why most people who retire go right back to work. Mm-hmm. Right back to work. Immediately.
That is Dr. Ray Christian, Army veteran, educator, storyteller. We put links to some of his stories for The Moth, Snap Judgment, and that story for the Risk podcast that he'll never tell again in our show notes. And you can subscribe to his podcast, What's Ray Saying, wherever you listen. This episode was produced by Cameron Drews. The rest of the Death, Sex, and Money show team includes Andrew Dunn and Zoe Azoulay. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer. Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. And Mia Lobel is executive producer of Slate Podcast. You can support the production of our show by joining our membership program, Slate Plus. You get bonus episodes of our show and other Slate shows like Decoder Ring and How To, and you can listen to all of Slate's podcasts ad-free. Go ahead, subscribe directly from the Death, Sex, and Money show page on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or just go to slate.com/DSM Plus to get access wherever you listen. Our theme music is by the Reverend John DeLore and Steve Lewis. And if you are new to our show, welcome. We are glad you're here. You can find us and follow us on Instagram @DeathSexMoney. And you can subscribe to my weekly newsletter at annasale.substack.com. So you can reach us anytime with voice memos, pep talks, questions, or critiques at our email address, deathsexmoney@slate.com. We love hearing from you. And Ray joked about that blood money that's helped put his kids through school. He's got 6 of them who are now all adults.
My oldest kid is 36, and my youngest, the twins, are 19. We don't know where the hell they came from. We was like 45 years old, man.
Oh, there's hope for me. I want that third baby. I'm 44.
See? You're going to have twins.
I don't know if I can handle that.
No, see, you're in the same place. I already got some kids. Yeah. Bam, bam.
I'm Anna Sale, and this is Death, Sex, and Money from Slate.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Want to live better?
We've got a lot of work to do.
Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live better now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live better now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.